to have free speech, but we sold our rights away to the land.
Mickey and I say greetings from Castle Goring, and Mickey is very concerned because we have a very important issue to address today, as well as some frivolities after the important issue. So, with Mickey's permission, I will plunge right in. Liberal against censorship says, Lady C. Just Harry has been much in the news with his recommendations for fighting an avalanche of disinformation in his capacity as Commissioner of Disinformation and one of the 3 chairmen and 15 commissioners of the Aspen Institute, a left-wing think tank that seems intent on censoring the media. Do you think a British prince has the right to interfere in and recommend controls on American civil liberties? Your thoughts would be greatly appreciated, as you are, wait for it, always a beacon of reason in a in a desert. You are always a beacon of reason in a desert of irrationality. Well, thank you, and thank you again. I think that's a wonderful question. It's a subject that's very close to my heart. And may I say, it's a subject that should be close to everybody else's heart as well. Because when you muzzle people and you cut off the flow of information, so they cannot make up their minds as to what they agree with and what they disagree with, this is not only censorship, it is stealing the hearts, minds, and souls of the people. It is what dictators do. It is what Meghan and Harry want to have happen to us. Remember what Harry said? The First Amendment is bonkers, quote unquote. Is it any surprise that Harry would therefore be a part of a movement to try to strangle and choke and cut off the supply of information at its source, so that we, the people, cannot make up our own minds? We must be drip-fed whatever he and people like him require that we be informed about. It's controlling not only information, but the very thoughts of people. Do I think a British prince has the right to interfere and recommend controls on American civil liberties? No, I don't. In fact, I don't think any American has the right to try to control and negate the First Amendment, as long as the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States remains in force. And one hopes it will remain in force ad infinitum. It is the duty of all citizens to A, abide by it, B, respect it, C, preserve it, and D, fight those who are trying to destroy it. Harry is a very destructive and ominous individual, as is his wife. Make no mistake about this. This isn't him alone. This is him and her. They need to be shut down. You, the American people, need to take action. I don't know what action you're going to have to take. I think you're going to have to be very resourceful, and you're going to have to keep on taking lots of action. But if you don't take it, you are going to be dictated to by a dictator of a British prince and his dictator of a wife, neither of whom believes in civil liberties. They believe in control. They believe that they have the right to set themselves up as arbiters of what you, the people, can receive in terms of information. Let me tell you something, in case it's not occurred to you yet. In Western democracies, there are already laws in place to protect the public against disinformation and misinformation. If we are subject to disinformation and misinformation, and we should, it has to be said, be subject to a degree of it. Otherwise, we are not in a free society. We are in a society that is controlling the information, which means we are in a totalitarian dictatorship. Misinformation and disinformation, therefore, is an invaluable proof of liberty. It is then up to responsible organs within the society to counter that mis and or disinformation with accurate, informed, well thought out and factual information. That's what freedom of information is all about. It is beyond belief that this brain-dead creature who couldn't even pass his exams thinks that he is in a position to dictate to you, the American people, and hopefully, if he has his way according to his desires, to the rest of the world, as to what we, the people, will receive as information. He and people of his ilk will be in the driving seat. The American people fought a war of independence to be free of the domination of foreign princes. You have a foreign prince living in your country who has asserted that he is against your First Amendment, that it is bonkers, that it is madness, and is taking active steps to undermine it. You, the American people, need to get him shut down. You have congressmen, you have senators. I've got news for you. A lot of Democratic senators and congressmen, if they have any appreciation of liberty, and I'm pretty damn sure an awful lot of them do, will not care that Meghan is somebody who is sucking up to the Democratic Party and is hoping that she will, according to my sources, one of her aims is to replace Dianne Feinstein, or Feinstein, however the name is pronounced. She's actually a great friend of mine. Dianne Feinstein, I think it's how it's pronounced. That's one of the seats Meghan has an eye on. You need to do something. You need to get active. Harry needs to be shut down. He doesn't need to be shut up. He has the right to shoot off his mouth. He does not have the right to intervene in politics. And let me tell you better. I'm going to quote from what he says so that you will see how dangerous this creature is. For the better part of a year, we at the Aspen Commission have met regularly to debate, discuss and draft solutions to the mis- and disinformation crisis, which is a global humanitarian issue. I hope to see the substantive and practical recommendations of our commission taken up by the tech industry, the media industry, by policymakers and leaders. This affects not some of us, but all of us. Yes, it affects all of us, not only in America, but elsewhere. There's a great deal of interconnectedness in terms of the media. Misinformation and disinformation are not at a crisis level. A free society needs different ideas. It needs misinformation and disinformation. And it also needs the fora, or forums, if you prefer to use the anglicized version of the Latin word, to discuss and defeat wrong thinking. That includes Harry's beliefs. The First Amendment is not bonkers. Misinformation and disinformation are not at a crisis level. What is at a crisis level is the attempts of people like Harry to prevent different ideas from flourishing. It is in the clash of ideas that you get knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge and wisdom are not possible when you choke off conflicting ideas. And who, if you read the recommendations of the, and there, I think if I remember correctly, there are 15 recommendations. And if you read them, you will see that they are hoping to set up a body that will choke off any idea with which they do not agree. The truth is something that people have a right to arrive at after they have received information that they might or might not agree with. Each of us in a free society has the right to make up our own minds. We should not be subjected to a starvation of information that leads us to be informed only that which the authorities wish to inform us of. I have read the recommendations. They are an outrage, but they are an outrage that I have to tell you, Adolf Hitler would have loved. All sorts of representative bodies that are authoritarian, like academics. Excuse me, Being an academic doesn't mean that you have wisdom. It simply means you have knowledge. And the way the universities are going on both sides of the Atlantic means that we only have one set of knowledge, because conflicting ideas are being cancelled and choked off and denigrated. I cannot tell you how strongly I think you, the American people, should take action to get that boy shut down. I don't know what action you need to take. I would, off the bat, recommend writing to your congressmen and writing to your congresswomen and writing to your senators and demanding that a British prince stop interfering in American politics. You know, saying it's a humanitarian issue is rubbish. It is a political issue. It goes to the heart of the American Constitution, the First Amendment. It goes to freedom of speech, and there are other aspects to the First Amendment, that if freedom of speech falls, so will they. You need to do something. Harry is as malignant and dangerous as Meghan. And those of you who can't see it are going to rue the day that you don't. And those of you who don't want to act are going to rue the day that you didn't act. Because they have attached themselves to very powerful negative forces in the land. They are trying to steal the soul of the nation and to steal your civil liberties. Why do you think they're doing it? You don't think they're doing it for anything that's beneficial to you, do you? They're doing it for control. They're doing it because they are power crazed. It also has to be said, in my view, and also what I've been told by medical people about them, they are both actually also just crazed. But these interventions, they are not humanitarian. They are using the word humanitarian in the meaning of, if it affects human beings, it's humanitarian. No. If it affects human beings and it is based in societal functions, it is not humanitarian. It is political. You tell me which bit of altering the First Amendment, so the bonkers part of it, which is freedom of speech, ceases to exist, is not political. You guys need to wake up. You need to wake up, and you need to take steps. You need to take very definite steps, because if you don't, you're going to live to rue the day, because they have attached themselves to other power-crazed people who are deluded, who don't understand that people have a right to come to their own conclusions. These are elitists of the highest order who are trying to tell you what to do. Now, it could be argued that I'm a member of an elite, but I'm not trying to tell people that they should think as I do and feel as I do. I'm saying you need to think for yourself. You need to have the freedom to think and to come to your own conclusions. That's not what they're saying. They're saying you need to think like us. We need to tell you what information you can have so that we are basically controlling what you think. The whole thing is a total outrage. Total outrage. I also think that when you're dealing with dangerous people, you need to use not only what they are about and what they say and what they do against them when it is wrong, you also need to exploit their mistakes. Harry's great mistake was declaring that the First Amendment is bonkers. He has exposed his position. He has exposed his thinking. He should never be allowed to intervene in the matter of freedom of speech ever again. He has established that he is against it. Her actions have established that she's against it as well. Both of them are desperate to control the media, desperate to control people, desperate. They are control freaks. They're also anti-liberty. They are anti-humanism. They are anti-humanitarian. You cannot be a humanitarian and a totalitarian at the same time. And they are in favor of all of the basic tools by which totalitarian has oppressed and suppressed people and people's freedoms traditionally throughout the whole history of humanity. If you're not aware of the danger yet, I think you need to wake up to the fact that we are dealing with deeply ominous individuals. For all their fine talk, it's got a really terrible ring to it. A. Arthur says, I find it very amusing that by suing the Mail and therefore supposedly defending her privacy, Meghan has caused all these private texts between her and her press secretary to be made public. She has actually well and truly invaded her own privacy. Furthermore, she has shown with her very own words, or lack of them, what an uncaring, no inquiry about her father's health, and manipulative, it will pull at the heartstrings person she really is. What do I think of it? Yes, I think she has exposed herself. I don't think that Meghan had any idea that Jason Knauf would be released to actually reveal what had gone on behind the scenes. Meghan will have known that Jason Knauf, like all of the other members of the palace crew, so to speak, was subject to the Official Secrets Act. She miscalculated, in my view. She thought, in my view, that she was safe. She could say anything and claim anything, and because Jason Knauf was subject to the Official Secrets Act, she would be able to get away with it. And my understanding, and I could be wrong, and I could be doing him a grave injustice, although I think I'm not, is that Prince William is the one who said this is totally unacceptable, and he has the backing all the way to the top, and the top is the Queen. Make no mistake about it. Releasing Jason Knauf from the obligations of the Official Secrets Act is the royal family showing not only their mettle, but their respect for the truth and decency. It reflects very well upon them. It also has wrong-footed Meghan entirely. Of course, if she has her way, she would be muzzling everybody else via Harry and the Aspen Institute. Hopefully, the American people and the American politicians will resist the blandishments of this wretched couple in the same way that the royal family has resisted her desire to present a false narrative. They have unmasked her as the purveyor of a false narrative. Misinformation, disinformation. She provided misinformation and disinformation in the letter to her father, to her friends, to People magazine via her friends, to the court, to the Mail on Sunday, and she and Harry would like us to believe that we should put our fate in their hands so that they can dictate to us what is desirable information and what is misinformation and disinformation. The only crisis in terms of misinformation and disinformation that exists in the world is people who do not use their brain to distill information and arrive at the accurate conclusion. There are all sides to every question available. It's up to each of us to use the brain God gave us and to arrive at a rational conclusion. I think by now everybody knows that I deplore Meghan Markle as an individual. Her conduct has shown me that she is the antithesis of the sort of human being that I regard as admirable. She has revealed herself to be malignantly manipulative, to have respect for neither the decencies nor the law, nor indeed her father and his rights as a human being. So she has shown us in this limited instance that she is inhumane. Since when did being inhumane qualify you to pass judgment on humanitarianism? That's the question I'd like that frowsy little something or the other to answer, because I know what the answer is. And I am sorry, I am completely unapologetic about the fact that I think that all of this has shown the woman is deplorable and not fit for human consumption or habitation. She is fit only for revilement and exclusion. Maybe if she learns her lessons, turns over a new leaf, we can then consider accepting her in the fold. But until then, I would argue that she is a mis- and disinformationist of the highest order, and she should be given no audience whatsoever. Unless, of course, you want to believe in lies. Leslie Parker says, Lady C, I read online that there was little enthusiasm shown for Harry and Meghan at the USA Veterans event. Minimal applause. a palpable, bordering on hostile attitude of YouTube publicity hog opportunists don't belong here. Love your language. Also read that Megasaurus was noticeably overdressed. Well, may I observe at this point? You didn't need to read it, my dear, you only needed to see it. But let's go on. Most of the other attendees were wearing what might be described as business attire. Any comments? Yes. I have seen the tapes. There was a dearth of applause. There was a dearth of welcoming in the atmosphere for them. I understand that several people made very negative comments to or about Harry especially, and one or two made pretty cutting comments about Meghan. Bon John Jovi was also there. He was in a lounge suit. I gather that it was basically a lounge suit event, but Harry and Meghan were in evening wear, he in black tie and she in a ball gown. My gosh, did she expect that they were going to open not with the national anthem, which evidently they demanded? They demanded the national anthem, to which they are not entitled in circumstances such as those. And she evidently demanded that she was Princess Meghan. How true that is, I don't know. But she's not known as Princess Meghan, and hopefully she'll never be known as Princess Meghan. But evidently, if the reports are true, she's graduated to wanting to be called Princess Meghan. Well, that may be overgilding the lily a bit, so I don't want to belabor the point. But the facts of the matter is that the tape was very eloquent. There was no wealth of welcoming for them, and evidently there were quite a lot of negative comments to and about them. And yes, they were wildly overdressed, but then Netflix, here we come. This is yet another one of our outstanding successes. No one's going to remember that it was yet another turkey. They're going to think, look at me, I'm a fine swan. Delusional. But you see, they want all of us shut down so that the only narrative will be their information. We will be fed from them and people like them pap, a load of self-serving rubbish via Netflix, etc., etc., whereby we, the people, are buried alive with propaganda the way the Nazis buried the German people in the 30s and 40s, and the Stalinists from the late 20s onwards buried the Russian people, and all totalitarian thinkers and states ultimately bury people. They bury the truth. They bury differing opinions. They bury everything except their greater glorification, and at the same time, our denigration is what is instituted by their manipulation of fact. Yes, no, maybe so says. I think it's very telling she didn't want Sarah Latham to know about the letter. Sarah had the Queen's air. How Meghan operates, in my opinion, is that she keeps everyone in her life, family, staff, friends, separate, telling them only what she needs each of them to know, but never the same story and never the full picture. That way they are all working without real clarity, and only she retains the full knowledge and the power of that knowledge. For example, when the royal family were innocently encouraging for matters between her and her dad to be resolved, Jason Knauf was helping her write a letter of martyrdom to her father. Her friends were trying to discredit her father, while she alone was 4 or 5 steps down the road plotting how the leaked letter, leaked one way or the other, would be of advantage to her and destroy her dad. Truly awful stuff. And without the receipts, she would have got away with it. Yes, she actually would have got away with it had she not committed the cardinal error of suing the Mail on Sunday. Because had she ignored the Mail on Sunday and just acted, oh well, I'm royal, I'm much too big, I'm going to ignore that whiff of feces that's wafting up from that gutter press newspaper and my gutter press father, she'd have got away with it. But we now know where the waste matter lies, and it wasn't with the news that her father had to impart. It wasn't with the reports of the Mail on Sunday. It was with Meghan. And incidentally, for what it's worth, insofar as I'm aware, the person who she didn't want to know was not Sarah Latham, it was Samantha Cohen, who had worked for the Queen and had been handed over by the Queen to work for Meghan. Yet another example and proof, actually, of the fact that poor Meghan's such a victim, that she never got any support. Lady Susan Hussey didn't give her any support, even though she did. Angela Kelly didn't give her any support, even though she did. Samantha Cohen didn't give her any support, even though she was a safe pair of hands, and the Queen actually asked her to look out and take care of Meghan and teach her the ropes. And what did Meghan do? Worked around her, because Meghan is an operator. Meghan is a slick, slimy operator. She's also somebody who, in the first and second instance, until she managed to achieve the objective of marrying Harry, was a very effective operator. But she forgot all the lessons that she'd learnt, and she forgot all the wisdom that she had acquired over the years, when she was a slick operator, worming her way through various scenarios so she would arrive at her destination. She knew how to be in command of herself, and she knew how to present the facade that would deceive and entice. Once she reached a level of success that she thought she could safely do this with all of that charm and pleasantry and apparent cooperativeness, and just indulge in the raw exercise of power. which is something that most narcissists do at some point. They reach a level of success where they dispense with all of the safeguards that got them safely to where they want to be. And they are then where they want to be, but they've changed their performance. They've changed their apparent values. They've changed their technique. And it's really dumb, because it's at that point that they begin to unmask themselves. I've seen it time and again. And let's remember, I know what I'm talking about, because not only did one of the leading psychoanalysts in the world recommend that I write a book on narcissism, and that I do it because I had successfully survived with my personality and spiritual and emotional structure intact, but that I also had a contribution to make. I see through the game, and I see Meghan's game, and she's made a big mistake, and she's never going to be able to retrieve it, because too many people know that she is a woman of straw trying to pretend to be a woman of substance. You know, once you declare that you are a phony by showing people that you are a phony, it's really difficult to then manage to dupe people into believing what they believed when you were playing the game so cleverly that you had everyone fooled. But narcissists, once they become very successful, it's a raw exercise of power. I used to say it about my mother, and I see it in Meghan. A raw exercise of power. Of course, they still come up with a claptrap, and they still dress up every dirty deed as if it emanates from noble motives. People like that, in my view, have no nobility, and their motives are always self-serving and ultimately destructive, because if you wait long enough, the narcissist will always, as and when it suits him or her, turn on you and devour you and show you that for any pretense that you have been deceived by, you are just supply. You are not a human being. You are just something to be used and exploited. That's the name of the game. She was really dumb. Had she been really sensible? But you see, she thought she's arrived at the top. She doesn't need to pretend anymore. She's now in a position of potency and power. Well, she's going to discover that potency is something that has its limits, and that so does power. What is limitless is the observation of truth and of fact. That has no limit. And on that note, I will say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, And please remember to keep the questions and the comments coming in, because this cannot be done without you. I know I keep on saying it, but it's absolutely true. God bless. Godspeed. Thank you. Bye-bye.